the first installment in a Kierkegaard podcast. I'm your host, Clint Schneckloth, and I'll be reading from selections from Soren Kierkegaard's works. Soren Kierkegaard famously remarked one time that people understand me so little that they do not even understand when I complain of being misunderstood. Part of the reason that Kierkegaard may not be understood as well as we might hope is because he isn't read aloud, and he wanted to be. So in these podcasts, we're just going to be taking some selections from Kierkegaard and speaking what he wrote out loud. We begin today with Soren Kierkegaard's Judge for Yourself and his preface to that work. Well do I know, and I know only all too well, how true it is that the world wants to be deceived. Knowing this, I perhaps could have had misgivings about publishing a communication such as the one offered here. Why then do I not have any? Because I have nothing whatever to do with the world. I address myself to the single individual, every individual, or to everyone as an individual. Would to God that all would read, but everyone as an individual. If every individual does as I did when I wrote, locks his door and reads to himself, fully convinced, and this is true, that I have not even remotely thought of affronting him or speaking about him to others, since I have thought only of myself, if he reads as an individual in such a way that it never even remotely occurs to him to think of others than himself, then I really do not need to fear that he would become angry with me for this communication. What does it mean to be and to will to be the single individual? It means to have and to will to have a conscience. But why should a person of conscience become angry if someone communicates something true to him? Indeed, he might rather become angry over the opposite. Say the following to yourself. Is it an affront to treat a person not only as a rational being, but as a person with a conscience to whom one tells the truth of the matter? I would think it an affront to treat, in conceited cleverness, a person as a child who cannot bear to come to know the truth, or as a fool whom one can make believe anything if one only flatters him. I would think that hiding the truth in order to deceive would be an affront to the person treated in this way, and that the deceived person is really most deeply affronted precisely when he feels comfortable in the deception. My dear reader, if possible, read aloud. If you do so, let me thank you. If you not only do it yourself, but persuade others to do it, let me thank each one of them and you again and again. Chapter 1, 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 7. Therefore, be sober. A prayer. Father in heaven, you are spirit, and they who wish to worship you must worship you in spirit and truth. But how in spirit and truth if we are not, or do not first of all really strive to become sober? Send then your spirits into our hearts. Oh, so often we call upon your Spirit to come and bring courage and life and power and strength. But might it first of all, and this is indeed the condition for everything else and for its being of benefit to us, but might it first of all make us sober. My devout listener, when the apostles came forward on Pentecost Day, for the first time filled with the Holy Spirit, all were alarmed and doubted and said, "What does this mean?" But others mocked and said, "They are full of sweet wine." Hence no one was able to or ventured to explain what happened here. Alarm and doubt seized all. Only the mockers attempted an explanation, namely, that the apostles were drunk, and so early in the day by 9 o'clock in the morning. This was the explanation. But it is inadequate because, strangely enough, they were not this way only in the morning. No, if they were drunk, they were still drunk in the evening. And it was not only that morning, no, if they were drunk, they were also drunk the next morning, and the evening of the next morning, and a month later, and 20 years afterward, and even in the hour of death they were filled with the sweet wine that they, according to the mocker's explanation, for otherwise the event on Pentecost Day is inexplicable, must have drunk that morning. What profound mockery of the mocker's explanation! Here, as everywhere, it is manifest that the world and Christianity have completely opposite conceptions. The world says of the apostles, of the Apostle Peter as their spokesman, he is drunk. And the Apostle Peter admonishes, become sober. Consequently, the secular mentality considers Christianity to be drunkenness, and Christianity considers the secular mentality to be drunkenness. Do become reasonable. Come to your senses. Try to become sober. Thus does the secular mentality taunt the Christian. And the Christian says to the secular mentality, do become reasonable. Come to your senses. Become sober. The difference between secularity and Christianity is not that the one has one view and the other another. No, the difference is always that they have the very opposite views, that what the one calls good, the other calls evil, what the one calls love, the other calls selfishness, what the one calls piety, the other calls impiety, what the one calls being drunk, the other calls being sober. It is precisely the drunk man, the apostle, who finds it necessary to bring home to a sober, I assume, world the admonition, become sober. This very admonition may, as intended, most severely wound the callous secular mentality, which, as a rule, cannot be wounded very easily or be disconcerted. The secular mentality certainly can put up with a great deal, can put up with this and that being said about it, but not with being called drunk. I stick, says the secular mentality, I stick to the facts. I am neither a fanatic nor a dreamer nor a fool, neither drunk nor crazy. I stick to facts. I believe nothing, nothing whatever, except what I can touch and feel. And I believe no one, not my own child, not my wife, not my best friend. I believe only what can be demonstrated, because I stick to facts. I stick to facts and therefore do not in the remotest manner become involved with all this grandiloquence about the hereafter, about eternity, and all that stuff preachers, not for nothing, get women, children, and the simple-minded to believe, since one knows what one has and does not know what one will obtain. I stick to this. I stick to facts. Therefore I never play the game people make such a big fuss about under the name of love, in which one is indeed always swindled if one is not oneself the swindler. No, I do not love a single person, but wait a minute, there is one person I love. I do not say that I love him more than myself. That is so fanatical, and I am no fanatic, but I love him just as much as myself. It is, namely, myself. I love that person. This is a fact, and I stick to facts. Call me self-loving and heartless and perfidious and paltry, for that matter. Call me a scamp, a scoundrel. It will never disturb me, because I stick to facts. The only thing I suppose that would momentarily disturb me would be if someone had the notion to say that I was drunk, intoxicated. I, the coldest and calmest and clearest common sense. Yet the apostle says, become sober, and says thereby, you are intoxicated, unhappy one. If you could see yourself, you would shudder, because you would see that you are like an intoxicated man when he, disgusting, scarcely resembles a human being to such a degree you are intoxicated. That is the way secularity and Christianity are related to each other. It was not only about the apostles, not only about them on Pentecost Day that it was said, they are full of sweet wine. No, this was and is and remains the world's judgment of the essentially Christian. Christianity, however, is of the opinion that particularly the apostles, and especially on Pentecost Day, were in the highest sense sober, pure spirit. And Christianity is of the opinion that particularly the true Christian is sober, that on the contrary, the less Christian anyone else is, the more that person is in a state of intoxication. And Christianity is of the opinion that its first effect, or the first effect of the Spirit on a person, is that he becomes sober. In other words, everything essentially Christian is a redoubling, or every qualification of the essentially Christian is first of all its opposite, whereas in just a human or secular view, a thing is just what it is. Thus, in just a human view, a spirit that gives life is a life-giving spirit and nothing more. Christianly, it is first of all the spirit who kills, who teaches dying to. In just a human view, elevation is only elevation and nothing more. Christianly, it is first of all humiliation. So also with inspiration. In just a human view, it is inspiration. Christianly, inspiration is first of all becoming sober.